Chapter 6. The Arab Province of Palestine, 638–1099 AD. Continuities, Adaptation and Transformation of Palestine under Islam. Palestinian Syriac Aramaic, Palestinian Arabic and Palestinian toponyms. Late Bronze Age Palaeolithic and Hellenic, Roman, Byzantine Palestina were adapted by the Arabs and became Palestine under Islam from 638 AD onwards. In the mid-7th century, the population of Palestine was predominantly Christian, mostly Palestinian Syriac Aramaic-speaking Christian peasants who continued to speak the language of Jesus throughout early Islam. However, the earliest Arabic inscriptions found in Palestine go back to the Roman and Byzantine periods, and for several centuries the Arabs were closely linked with the three Byzantine provinces of Palestina. In fact, under the Byzantines, Provincia Arabia itself became part of Palestina Salutaris, with its capital located in Petra, the old capital of the Nabatean Arabs. Also, after the Arabs took over Palestine in the 7th century, many place names in Palestine that were used by the Greek-speaking Byzantine administration continued to be used by the Arab administration, hence the emergence of the three Arabic forms of Byzantine: Palestine, Philastin and Philistin. Schiller 2009, 85, Sharon 2003. The presence of Arabs in Palestine was noted by Herodotus in the 5th century BC, and Arabic inscriptions in Palestine were discovered from the Roman era. Closely related to Palestinian Arabic is Palestinian Syriac Aramaic, which was part of the Northwest Semitic group of languages and was the language of ordinary people in the country. Palestinian Syriac Aramaic continued to flourish at a non-official popular level in Roman and Byzantine Palestine and in early Islamic Palestine, and became closely related to the modern Palestinian Arabic colloquial language. In the 40th early 7th centuries, the Ghassanid Arabs of their three Palestines were champions and protectors of the Syriac Monophysite Church. Their Arabic-speaking poets, bishops and kings, and Philax of Palestina Primer, Palestina Secundar and Palestina Tertiar must have been familiar not only with the lingua franca of the Byzantine Empire, Greek, but also with the Syriac Aramaic dialect of Greater Palestine. Palestinian Aramaic was also spoken by Palestinian Jews during the Roman and Byzantine period. Sokolov 2003. Today, a significant number of Palestinian Aramaic words are found in both Standard Arabic and in the vernacular language of many Palestinian villages. Also interestingly, in the early 20th century, the European Zionist inventors of modern Hebrew, in pursuit of indigenizing and antiquating strategies, borrowed heavily from Palestinian Aramaic and ancient Greek vocabulary. Palestinian Aramaic has also survived in a large number of modern Palestinian and Arab toponyms, including Ramallah, Aramaic ram, meaning height, and Alar, the Arabic word for God, a city which is the headquarters of the Palestinian National Authority. Ul-Ramah, height, a Palestinian town in Upper Galilee. Ul-Ram, a Palestinian town northeast of Jerusalem. Ul-Majdal, meaning fortress, an Arab village near Tiberias depopulated by Israel in 1948. Ul-Majdal, Ascalon, the ancient Philistine city. Maid al-Shams, a Druze Arab town north of the Golan Heights. Ul-Mujaddal, an Arab village southwest of Nazareth depopulated by Israel in 1948. Ul-Tur Mountain, the name of three mountainous place names in Palestine. The continuities and transformation of the province of Palestine. Historians tend to conflate Arabization processes in Palestine with the establishment of Arabic as the lingua franca for Palestine and the Near East. In fact, Arabization and Islamization in Palestine and the transformations of religious communities of the country, including the three Palestine provinces, Primer, Secundar and Tertiar, were distinct historical processes and should not be automatically conflated or synchronized. Historically, Arabization processes in Greater Palestine, including the existence of Arabic-speaking Palestinian Christians, long preceded Islamization processes in the country, although the establishment of Arabic as the lingua franca of Palestine went hand in hand with the Islamization of the country. As we have already seen, over the course of the Iron Age 1000 to 600 BC, the trading cities of Old Philistia, Gaza, Jaffa, Afek, Ekron, Ashdod, Ascalon, created a flourishing integrated south in Palestine by working closely with Arab traders and sailors. The Arabs were powerful traders who linked the distant trade from India and Asia to the eastern Mediterranean region via the Red Sea, Nabatea, southern Palestine, and the seaports of Philistia. This integrated south was maintained under the Assyrian and Persian empires, and in the 5th century BC Herodotus describes in detail the presence of Arabs in southern Palestine. A century later, the Nabatean Arabs, who flourished on international trade and local agriculture, began to dominate the Narkab and Negev from the 4th century BC onwards and founded several Palestinian villages and towns, some of which survived until the Palestinian Nakba of 1948. Al-Khalasar, a Palestinian Muslim village located 23 kilometers southwest of the city of Beersheba and depopulated by Israel in 1948, was founded by the Nabatean Arabs in the early 4th century using the Arabic name Al-Karlus, and the town became part of the Nabatean Arab incense route. The Greco-Roman historian and geographer Ptolemy identifies it as a town in Idumea. In the late Roman period it grew to become the principal town of the Western Roman Arabia Petrea province. Under the Byzantines, the Palestiner Tertia town became known as Elusar, preserving the Arabic name. It also served as an administrative center in the Narkab Desert and was the home of one of 3 classical schools of rhetoric in Byzantine Palestina. Under Arab Islam, the town continued to function as a major urban center and became known by its modern Arabic name Al-Khalasar, but was abandoned sometime during the late Mamluk period in the 15th century CE. It was repopulated by Palestinian Bedouins in the early 20th century. After the destruction of the Arab village in 1948, the Israelis renamed it Halusar, Hebrew, pioneer, a Hebrew-sounding name based on the Arabic toponym Al-Karlus, and more recently UNESCO declared the archaeological site a World Heritage Site, ironically due to its historic importance but, in fact, without acknowledging the centrality of the site to the 24 centuries of Arab history and heritage in Palestine. In early Islam, the combination of strategic military and administrative considerations for the creation of the 4, and later 5, Muslim ajnads, provinces, system in Bilad al-Sham were influenced by the previous Byzantine strategic configuration of the region. The origins of the ajnad system of Bilad al-Sham under Islam are in dispute. However, Irfan Shahid, 1986, sees a Byzantine origin for this system. The provinces, or ajnad, retained civil and administrative responsibilities for their surrounding districts, including the raising of taxes. Walmsley 2273. The Arab governors of the 5 ajnad, Singh, Jund of Al-Sham region, Damascus, Philastin, Ul-Urdun, Hims and Chinisrin, were called emirs and, in one case, the governor, Wali, of Jund Philastin, Sulayman ibn Abd al-Malik, became the Umayyad Caliph in 715. Palestine had been brought fully within the Islamic Caliphate in 637–638. In the Islamic theory of governance, a caliph was a supreme ruler who was chosen by the community to be a successor to the Prophet Muhammad. As political leader of the entire Muslim community, the caliph was provided with an Islamic reference framework defined by the Quran and the Hadith, the sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, and was obliged to govern through shura, consultation, deliberation, advice. The shura, a Quranic principle, created a space that enabled the Islamic traditions to negotiate social pluralism and intercultural exchanges throughout the vast Islamic empire. In practice, however, many caliphs were hereditary rulers, and they were only as strong as their armies and political alliances made them. The founders of the Umayyad dynasty were also acutely aware of the power-knowledge nexus, to echo Michel Foucault's famous paradigm. They were powerful, shrewd and pragmatic caliphs and sought administrative advice, political shura, scientific knowledge and technological expertise from their Muslim and non-Muslim subjects alike. With the flexibility of the Islamic tradition firmly established, in 661 AD the Umayyad caliphs took over the Islamic State and made Damascus the capital of the vast Islamic empire. Material, economic, religious and political evidence shows that under the Umayyad Marwanid caliphs, one who succeeded in expanding the Islamic empire to an unprecedented size, the 2 provinces, Ajnad, of Damascus and Philastin were treated as core provinces of a vast empire, for reasons of religious dogma mixed with realpolitik. After all, Palestine was more strategically important and more tightly controlled by the Umayyad rulers than the deserts of Arabia, as indeed was Syria, so that the centrality and importance of Palestine and Syria under the Umayyad Marwanid caliphs remained paramount. It also helped the process of homogenization and Arabization of the large empire that the peasants of Palestine spoke a local version of Aramaic, a dialect much closer to Arabic than any other language but Hebrew, which had largely been extinct for centuries, so the gradual but steady move to Arabic as the official lingua franca in Palestine and the Near East was neither difficult nor protracted. Moreover, the Umayyad Marwanid revolution and extraordinary shrewdness and innovation also resulted in the construction by the Umayyad Marwanid caliphs of a system of exquisite and large palaces in Jerusalem, Al-Ramla, near Jericho and near Tiberias, which give us a glimpse into the centrality of Palestine within this vast Islamic empire. The reforming Marwanid ruler Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, r. 685–705 AD, is credited with the transformation of Jerusalem, the construction of the Dome of the Rock in the city and the currency reforms, as well as the establishment of Arabic as the official language of the Islamic Caliphate. Oxenwald and Fisher 2004, 57. For the first 6 decades of Islam in Palestine, prior to Abd al-Malik's linguistic and administrative reforms, much of the local government's work in Palestine was recorded in Koine Greek, and many prominent positions in the country were held by Christians, some of whom belonged to families that had served in Byzantine administrations. The linguistic revolution, which began with Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan and was maintained by subsequent Marwanid caliphs, meant that Arabic became the lingua franca not only of Palestine but the Islamic Empire, which, at the time, included more than 30% of the world's population. The linguistic revolution and having Arabic as the single lingua franca for tens of millions of people from Spain to Central Asia was also central to the expansion of global trade under Muslim rule. Throughout the Middle Ages, as in ancient times, regional and distant trade remained a key source for the prosperity of a strategically located Palestine. Arabic and the Arabization of Palestine added more cultural layers to Palestine's already rich and complex identity. The Arabization of Palestine benefited from the fact that the predominantly Palestinian Christian peasantry spoke a Palestinian dialect of Aramaic, a Semitic language closely related to Arabic. However, if under the Romans and Byzantines Koine Greek was the elite language of Palestine, and the Levant and Hellenization was closely associated with cosmopolitanism and high culture, under Islam literary Arabic and Arabization became a vehicle for globalization. Literary Arabic and translation into Arabic became closely associated with scientific inquiry and cultural innovation, expanding international trade and cosmopolitanism. Furthermore, Byzantine Palestine had been bedeviled by deep class cleavages reflected in linguistic divisions. If speaking Greek was a key marker of metropolitan and urban elite identity, and speaking Aramaic was a key marker of identity for ordinary people and Palestinian peasantry in Christian majority Byzantine Palestina, Arabic and Arabization encouraged egalitarianism in Palestine and became key markers of identity for both urban elites and the increasingly Arabized Palestinian peasantry. Under Islam, the metropolises of Damascus, Baghdad and Cairo stood out as imperial centers, but their trade and strategic linkages through overland and sea routes tied them to an archipelago of hinterland cities in Al-Sham and Palestine and the whole Al-Sham region, including Al-Ramla, Gaza, Ascalon, Al-Lajun, Al-Quds, Nablus, Acre and Tiberias. Naturally, Arabization and Islamization followed trade and political power, and this cultural and linguistic transformation of Palestine was promoted actively and assiduously after the Arab-Islamic conquest of Palestine. Islamization processes in the country followed suit. Palestine became part of the Arab Islamic State following the Battle of Yarmouk, 636 AD, in the course the Muslim conquest of Syria and Palestine. Although the Arab Islamic military conquest of Palestine took place in 638 AD, the practical Islamization of Palestine was a gradual but radical process which went on for many generations. There is also some evidence of the mass conversion by Samaritans to Islam in Palestine in the course of the early Muslim period. See Levi Rubin 2000. However, the powerful Arab Muslim impact on Palestine has continued for nearly 1,400 years to the present time. The profound religious, social, Cultural and linguistic transformation of the country under Islam is evident throughout the land, but the gradual processes of Arabization, homogenization and Islamization of the country, from a largely Aramaic-speaking majority Christian country to a predominantly Arabic-speaking Muslim majority, and from one monotheistic religion to another, as well as from one Semitic language to another closely related one, was less traumatic culturally and socially, less painful than the sudden conversion of a pagan society into a monotheistic polity. The archaeological evidence on the early history of Islam in Palestine debunks the common perception and insidious myth that the Muslim conquest of Palestine in the 7th century caused a decline in the number of localities and the overall prosperity of the country. Magus 2003, 1-3. On the contrary, the Muslim Arabs ushered in a period of prosperity and religious toleration and religious and cultural autonomy for Christian and Jewish religious communities, Arabic, Miller, in Palestine, and permitted the previous administrative organization to continue. The Encyclopedia of Islam 1965, Volume 2, 911. The Islamic states, like the Roman and Byzantine empires, also applied a patron-client system in Palestine, and this patronage system allowed the emergence of a degree of local autonomy and powerful urban elites. For largely defensive military-strategic reasons, Greater Palestine under Islam was reconfigured and reconstituted from two of their three Palestines of the Byzantines, Blankenship 1994. This military-strategic reconfiguration and reorganization was also reflected in the actual naming of the country, Unearthing, their administrative and military province of Palestine. This reconfiguration was also aimed at addressing some of the fundamental weaknesses of the Byzantine strategic thinking for defending their three Palestines and other regions in Syria. The Byzantine military was headquartered in the coastal city of Caesarea Maritima and relied extensively on the Ghassanid Arab allies of the hinterland who had effectively controlled Palestina Secundar and Palestina Tertiary. The Muslim Arab commanders, while still using many Ghassanid Christian troops in Muslim armies, preferred to rely on Muslim commanders. Reducing Unearthing from the original 3 to 2 Palestines, Palestina Premier and Palestina Tertiary, also made sense in military strategic terms. The administrative reorganization of Palestine during early Islam meant that Byzantine Greater Palestine became a combination of a relatively large Unearthing province and a small Unearthing, Jordan province. Governed from Tiberias in Galilee, Unearthing should not be equated with modern-day Jordan. With the consolidation of Arab-Muslim rule in Palestine and the Levant in the mid-7th century, the region was divided into Palestine, Urdun and Damascus, and the Arabs, like the Romans, opted for a decentralized administration. During the Umayyad period, 661-750 AD, the Ulsham region was divided into junds or military, administrative provinces. Unearthing was organized soon after the Muslim conquest of Palestine in the 630s. The Umayyads adapted many of the Byzantine toponimic, monetary and administrative traditions, and this process of adaptation was evident in many aspects of the province of Unearthing. The extent of the Arab province of Unearthing, from Marj ibn Amer to the Red Sea. For several centuries, Eilat, the present-day Jordanian port city of Al-Aqaba on the Red Sea, was part of the Islamic administrative province of Unearthing, whose governors, walis, were also in charge of looking after the safety of the caravans of Muslim pilgrims from Mecca through Eilat and Al-Ramla to Damascus and beyond. Umayyad numismatic and epigraphic evidence shows that Eilat was an early Islamic town in the province of Unearthing. Originally a Roman and Byzantine town called Elis, now the ruins of Eilat lie within the present-day port city of Al-Aqaba, Ramadan 2010b. Eilat in Palestine, Elis in Byzantine Palestina, was also the reason, within the Israeli Settler Toponimic Project Post, 1948, for calling the nearby new Israeli settlement Eilat. Southern Elis in Byzantine Palestina, which became Eilat in Islamic Unearthing, should be clearly distinguished from the northern Ili-Palestine, Jerusalem, under Islam, Ilir Capitolina under the Romans, and Byzantine. Elis was a vibrant Palestinian port town under both the Byzantines and Muslims and at the center of the Indian and South Arabian spice trade. Rising to prominence after the Islamic conquests, Ili-Palestine, located strategically on the Red Sea, also known to medieval European geographers as Mare Mecca, or the Sea of Mecca, and Sinus Arabicus, or the Gulf of Arabia, developed into a major trading port town and benefited hugely from the annual caravans of Muslim pilgrims to and from Mecca, Lev 2006, 591, and from the linking of the Ul-Sham region with the Arabian Peninsula and Indian Ocean. Apparently, Umayyad Aylar in Palestine coins were also minted in Palestine for the use in the Red Sea town and beyond. Ramadan 2010a, 2010b, and 10th century Palestinian geographer al-Maqdisi, after visiting Palestine, described it as a port of Palestine on China Sea. Ramadan 2010a, 2010b. The combination of Arabic written sources, Umayyad numismatic and epigraphic evidence, and Byzantine sources gives us a good idea about the way the large Arab province of Jund Palestine emerged out of the combination of two provinces of Palestina Primer and Palestina Tertier. In this regard, it is worth noting that Palestinian historian Procopius of Caesarea Maritima had already written in 560 AD. The boundaries of Palestine extend toward the east to the sea which is called the Red Sea. Now this sea, beginning at India, comes to an end at this point in the Roman domain, and there is a city called Elis, modern-day Aqaba, on its shore, where the sea comes to an end, as I have said, and becomes a very narrow gulf. And as one sails into the sea from there, the Egyptian mountains lie on the right, extending toward the south. On the other side, a country deserted by men extends northward to an indefinite distance, and the land on both sides is visible as one sails in as far as the island called Aitabe, not less than 1,000 stads distant from the city of Elis. Procopius 2005. Palestine under Islam gives us some indication of the vastness and wealth of the province of Jund Palestine, which stretched from the fertile plain of Marj ibn Amer in the north, a rich granary in Palestine, and a region which at the time was considered part of Lower Galilee, to Al-Ash in Sinai, and to the trading town of Palestine on the Red Sea. In fact, the province of Jund Palestine encompassed most of Palestina Primer and Palestina Tertier. Avni 2014, 27. Jund al-Urdun, the military administrative province of Jordan, replacing Palestina Secundar, Blankenship 1994, 84, Avni 2014, 27, was formed with its capital in the Palestinian city of Tiberias. Founded in Roman Palestine and known by its Greek name, the city had been the regional capital of Galilee at the time of Jesus and would remain a key Palestinian center of trade, silk industry, and leisure activities for several centuries to come. The city was also a seat of religious learning for Arab Judaism and ancient Hebrew, then a language of liturgy. Lashon HaKodesh, rather than a day-to-day spoken language, was codified into Tiberias under the globalizing impact of Arabic and Islam. Under Islam, the fame of Tiberias as a multicultural, hedonistic, and leisure city situated in the proximity of many natural thermal springs and hot health baths became so great that the Sea of Galilee became known in Arabic as the Sea of Tiberias, Bar Tiberias, and later Buhayrat Tiberias. Like Palestina Secundar, Jund al-Urdun included most of the Galilee and some territories in Transjordan. The overall size of Jund al-Urdun was about 1/3 of modern mandatory Palestine. With some minor changes, this administrative division of Palestine remained largely unchanged until the Crusader invasion of the country in 1099, although under the Fatimids Jund al-Urdun was effectively ruled from Ul-Ramla by the military governor of Palestine. Of course, the medieval Arabs were familiar with the Old Testament and New Testament, but they opted for the real historical and official administrative name of the country, Palestine, Philastin, rather than for the ideological Old Testament term Canaan, and they embraced and cherished the diverse heritage of Palestine and the shared heritage of the Levant. The medieval Arabic toponymy of Philastin was identical to the Old French term Philistin, which came from Latin Philistina or Philistinus or Palestina, which, in turn, derived from the Roman name of the province, Palestina, based on the ancient name with its memory preserved in the Old Testament and a variety of ancient languages, the Akkadian Palashtu and Egyptian Parasator. The secular and sacred capitals of the province of Philastin, the grandeur of Ilir, Beit al-Maqdis, and Ul-Ramla under the Umayyads. During the season of pilgrimage and Muslim Hajj, thousands who cannot travel to Mecca come to Jerusalem. They approach the sanctuary, Ul-Haram, and offer sacrifices as is customary. In some years, over 20,000 Muslim people fulfill their Hajj law here. Christians and Jews come here too, from the land of the Christians. Nasir Khusro, 1050 AD, cited in Mutta 2013, 913. The Arab Islamic province of Jund Falastin was one of the military, administrative provinces of the Umayyad and Abbasid region of Al-Sham, provinces organized soon after the Muslim conquest of the Levant in the late 630s. The official name, Jund Falastin, was universally adopted from early Islam onwards by Muslim rulers and Arab governors of Falastin, walis, Arab and Muslim geographers, cartographers, historians, translators, engravers, coiners, pilgrims and merchants. They all relied on the classical heritage of Palestine and the Near East. Arab administrators, historians and geographers also translated and preserved many of the ancient place names of Palestine and much of the classical heritage of Greece and antiquity in the Levant. Islamic pilgrimage to Jerusalem began very early, and this was enhanced by the grandeur and centrality of the Holy City and Umayyad Falastin, 661-749. Which can hardly be overstated. The Dome of the Rock was the first monumental sanctuary erected by Umayyad Islam between 688 and 691. Murphy O'Connor 2012-27. The Umayyads, like the Romans and Byzantines, promoted urbanization in Palestine. They also respected the multi-faith and shared heritage of the country and continued many of the Byzantines' administrative traditions and architectural styles. For the Muslim Arabs, as for the Byzantine Christians, Palestine, Holy Land, Arabic, Al-Ard al-Muqaddasir al-Maqdisi 2002, 135 Hebrew, Eretz HaKodesh, and Jerusalem were a special, sacred space. The sanctity and centrality of Jerusalem is enshrined in its very Arabic name, Beit al-Maqdis, their house of the holy, or al-Quds, their holy. According to the traditional Muslim view, the Qibla, Arabic, direction, the direction in which the first Muslims had prayed, originally faced the noble sanctuary in Jerusalem. The sacred city was always a focus of intense Islamic devotion and pilgrimage. The governors of the province of Jund Falastin were appointed by their caliph. They were in charge of the army commanders, Muslim clergy, religious officials, tax collectors, police and civil administrators in the province. But the Umayyad rulers, especially the Marwani caliphs, took a personal interest in Palestine. The Umayyad caliphs, like the Byzantine Christian rulers, made a clear distinction between their secular, political, worldly, and sacred spheres and between the political, secular, administrative, military, and sacred capitals of Palestine. For the Byzantine Christians, that distinction, formalized at the Nicaea Council in 325, produced a rather complicated and confused ecclesiastical arrangement between the Archiepiscopal See of Caesarea Palestina and the Archbishopric of Aelia Capitolina. However, for the Umayyad rulers, the distinction between political, secular, administrative, and sacred capitals of Jund Falastin was simpler and more straightforward. Also, subsequent accounts by Arab geographers from the 10th century lend some weight to the secular administrative versus religious capital, double capitals, concept in Palestine suggested in this work. Aelia Capitolina remained the official name of Jerusalem until 638 AD, when the Arabs conquered the city and kept the first part of it as Ilia. Ilia, later Beit al-Maqdis and al-Quds, was the sacred religious capital of the Umayyad state and of Palestine. The Umayyad caliphs loved and honored Jerusalem, and Muawiyah, 602-680 AD, founder of the Umayyad dynasty, was reported to have had himself proclaimed caliph in Jerusalem. The Encyclopedia of Islam 1965, Volume 2, 911. The Umayyads devoted a great deal of effort and resources to its expansion and the prosperity of Jerusalem and other Palestinian cities. Interestingly, the Umayyad Marwanid caliphs considered relocating their capital from the secular capital Damascus to the holy city of Jerusalem. Although the move was abandoned for strategic reasons, in preparation they symbolically built their large palaces adjacent to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. In excavations carried out by Hebrew University archaeologist Benjamin Mazar in the 1970s, south and southwest of the Al-Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, the remains of 6 massive buildings were uncovered, these buildings were not mentioned in any of the Arabic written sources describing the period. The buildings were labeled palaces as they were probably part of the government complex and the administrative center of the Umayyad government in Jerusalem. Nothing similar or comparable to this government complex in Umayyad Jerusalem was found in the secular capital of Junt Palestine, Al-Ramla. The Marwanid caliphs also renewed and enhanced the centrality of Jerusalem in the Muslim Empire. If Al-Ramla became the administrative head of Muslim Palestine, Jerusalem became the religious heart of Muslim Palestine, but also of the rest of the Umayyad Empire. Now, added to the Christian pilgrims who continued to arrive, were the convoys of Muslim pilgrims who came to Jerusalem in their thousands from the Maghreb, Iran and even Central Asia. The largest and most impressive palace at the center of the magnificent secular Umayyad architecture in Ilir, Beit al-Maqdis, was near the southwest corner of the Al-Haram and was the seat of the Umayyad caliphs who visited the holy city on a regular basis. The palace was apparently constructed during the reign of the Al-Walid ibn Abd al-Malik, who ruled from 705 to 715, and is similar to other fortified Umayyad palaces in Palestine, near Jericho and near Tiberias and Syria. The palace measured 96 by 84 meters and was surrounded by a 3-meter protective wall, constructed of large, trimmed stones. 2 main gates, one facing east and one facing west, gave access to the palace. A broad, stone-paved courtyard in the center of the building was surrounded by rows of columns supporting the roofing of the porticos. Many of the columns came from Byzantine churches and buildings in Palestine, as evidenced by traces of engraved crosses on them. The rooms around the central courtyard were paved with small stone slabs and mosaic plaster, decorated with geometric designs and floral motifs, covered the thick walls. A bridge was built from the roof of the palace to the Al-Haram Al-Sharif, noble sanctuary compound, providing direct access to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The magnificent complex of Muslim buildings was destroyed by the earthquake of 749. Evidence of this is the fallen columns and collapsed walls point to the Umayyad undertook monumental building programs in Jerusalem, the center of which were the Dome of the Rock, completed in 691 AD, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, completed in 705 AD, both still standing, and both remaining the most potent religious and cultural symbols of Palestine. The Al-Aqsa Mosque itself was constructed on the basis of an earlier Islamic mosque built within the Haram al-Sharif compound and with reference to a key Islamic tradition, the Isra and Mi'raj. This tradition, according to Islam, involved Prophet Muhammad's nighttime journey to Jerusalem, which took place around the year 621 AD. The Umayyads' magnificent public, secular and religious rebuilding programs in Jerusalem and Al-Ramla and their large palaces in Jerusalem and near Jericho and Tiberias show the extent to which Palestine had become central to the Umayyad state and early Islam. But the founding of a completely new metropolitan city for Palestine also represented a break from the Byzantine past and a reorientation of Palestine under the Marwanid rulers. This resulted in the creation of a new capital city for the province of Palestine, Al-Ramla, an administrative capital founded by Sulayman ibn Abd al-Malik, the governor of Palestine, 705 to 715 AD, and later Umayyad Caliph, 715-717. But in the end, and especially during the Umayyad period, the new city of government built at Al-Ramla could never rival the location and splendor of the buildings in Jerusalem, or its religiously rich history, a city which, as we shall see in Chapter 7, would, once Salah al-Din had recovered from the Latin Crusaders in the 12th century, become the center of the administration of Muslim-majority Palestine. According to the conventional wisdom, the name Ramla is derived from the Arabic word Raml, meaning sand, Parmer 1881, 217. But it is more likely that the new Arab capital was named by Sulayman ibn Abd al-Malik not for its sand but in memory of Ramla, a remarkable woman who was the daughter of Caliph Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan, the founder of the Umayyad dynasty. Ramla's reputation among the Umayyad ruling elite was enhanced by the fact that she also married to a son of Uthman III, Caliph of Islam, Roded 1994-57. The likelihood of a major city being named in memory of an important Umayyad woman in the history of the ruling dynasty could easily have been overlooked by the post-Umayyad almost exclusively male, Abbasid-leaning Muslim historians of the Middle Ages. In any event, crucially, Sulayman ibn Abd al-Malik continued to reside in Al-Ramla and did not move to the imperial capital Damascus after he became caliph in 715 AD. The Encyclopedia of Islam 1965, Volume 2, 911. He is also credited with the construction of a palace, a mosque, an extensive water supply and storage system, and the House of the Dyers. Subsequently, and for several centuries, Al-Ramla flourished as a fortified city with many cisterns and a highly developed system of rainwater collection and storage. Lev 2006, 595-91. Moreover, throughout early Islam, the two political, secular, and sacred cities of Al-Ramla and Jerusalem were at the heart of a distinct Palestinian Arab province, combining their Byzantine provinces of Palestina Primer and Palestina Tertier. The Arab province of Palestine included most major Palestinian cities and more than two-thirds of the territory of Mandatory Palestine. Archaeological finds and place names show the continuities of historic Palestine with toponymic memory and shared culture. They indicate that the major Palestinian cities of Byzantine Palestine are Lidr, Sitharpolis, Beisan, Garzer, Tiberias, Neapolis, Nablus, Jaffa, Amwars, Emurs, Rafah, Acre, Ascalon, Ilir, Al-Quds, Jerusalem, Eleutheropolis, Beit Jibrin, and Caesarea Maritima, Caesarea, continued to function as urban centers in this period. A number of new cities and towns were also built, most notably Al-Ramla, which became the administrative and commercial center of Palestine for several centuries, located inland, away from potential Byzantine seaborne attacks and the Mediterranean battleground between Byzantines and Arabs, while new Arab naval bases and shipyards were established in Palestine. Nablus, Caesarea and Jaffa was a district, quarter, and religious capital of the country. It was expanded by the Umayyads with new monumental Arab Islamic architecture, and the city flourished as the religious center of the whole country, as well as a holy city for Jews and Christians. Moreover, the architectural forms of urban Palestine and Islamic Jerusalem exhibited continuities and adaptation and a melange of Arab Islamic and Byzantine styles. Point 3. According to the 9th century Muslim historian al-Baladuri, the principal cities, towns of the province of Palestine included Al-Ramla, Al-Quds, Garzer, Ascalon, Nablus, Jaffa, Amwars, Rafah, Sebastia, Caesarea, Tabarir, Beit Jibrin, Okalil, Hebron, Lidr, and Yubner, for the latter being one of 10 towns in Palestine conquered by the Arab army commanded by Ammar ibn Ulayas in the 630s, cited in Lestrange 1890-20. Back in the 7th century, the Arab Byzantine coinage of the province of Palestine was minted in Yubner, Jerusalem and Lidr, Goodwin 2004, their initial and temporary capital of Palestine. Strategic military considerations and international trade routes were major factors in the conceptualization of Palestine and in shaping its history under both Byzantium and Islam. The new capital city of the province of Palestine, Al-Ramla, was founded by the Arabs c. 705 to 715 AD and became the capital of Palestine. Al-Quds, Jerusalem, was the religious center of Palestine and the Umayyad state. Al-Ramla was chosen as the administrative center of Palestine between 715 AD and 940 AD because of its important strategic location along the historic trade route of the Via Maris, Way of the Sea, or Way of the Philistines, via Gaza to Egypt. 5. At Tantura, the old Via Maris veered inland to the right and passed through Marj ibn Ammar and then by Mount Tabor northward towards Damascus. Under Muslim rule, this route connected to Al-Fustat, early Cairo, with their city of Al-Sham, Damascus, at its intersection with the road connecting their seaport of Jaffa with holy city of Al-Quds, Jerusalem. However, after the Muslim recovery of Jerusalem from the Latin Crusaders in 1187 and the elimination by the Ayyubids of the First Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem, the administrative capital of Palestine shifted to Al-Quds. The Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem had been a Crusader state established in 1099 after the First Crusade. Following the Third Crusade, the kingdom was re-established in Acre in 1192 and lasted until 1291. Overall, the Latin Kingdom lasted in Palestine nearly 200 years, from 1099 until 1291, when the last stronghold and capital, Acre, was destroyed by the Mamluks. Their position of Al-Quds as both the administrative and religious capital of Palestine was reinforced by both the Ayyubids and the Mamluks, 1260–1517, in the post-Crusader period. Earlier under Islam, and for several centuries between the early 8th and late 11th centuries, Al-Ramla was the economic and political hub of the province of Palestine and the largest, richest and most powerful trading city in the country. Al-Ramla was at the center of the north-south and west-east trade routes and the large number of caravanserais, khans, which dotted the country, with a distance of approximately 20 to 30 kilometers between them, allowed merchants and pilgrims to rest overnight. These khans were also intended to facilitate the postal service, Barid, which had been introduced to Palestine by the Umayyads, rose in Ireland 1998, 515, and developed further under successive Muslim dynasties. The other historic cities of the province of Junt Palestine in early Islam were Al-Quds, Ascalon, Garzar, Lidr, Asuf, Greek, Apollonia, Six Jafar, Beit Jibrin, Nablus, Jericho and Caesarea, with Amman east of the River Jordan. During this period, we can observe both continuities and transformation in the social, cultural, economic, administrative and geopolitical identities of Palestine. Throughout the Middle Ages, Muslim pilgrims and travel writers reported that Palestine was equated throughout the Muslim world with their capital city of the country, Al-Ramla, Khusraw 1888, Ibn Battuta 2005, 57. Indeed, for centuries throughout early Islam, the name of the capital city of Palestine, Al-Ramla, became synonymous with the name of the country as a whole, Palestine, Palestine, and the capital city was often called by Al-Ramla Palestine by medieval Arab travelers, geographers and historians, in the same way as the former capital city of Byzantine Palestine, Caesarea Maritima, had become synonymous with the name of the country as a whole, Palestina, and had often been called Caesarea Palestina. Once again we see Islam continuing and pragmatically adapting Palestine traditions and the Byzantine administrative and geopolitical traditions of Palestine rather than replacing them completely. This adaptation and transformation of Byzantine administrative and geopolitical traditions was also influenced by the tendency in Palestine and the Near East as a whole, the Arab-Muslim Near East included, to equate countries, provinces or regions with capital cities. For instance, the capital cities of Garzar and Ascalon and their hinterland became synonymous with Philistia in the Late Bronze Age and throughout the Iron Age. Caesarea Maritima, the capital city of Palestina primer under the Byzantines, became synonymous with Provincia Palestina as a whole. Al-Sham became synonymous with the capital city of the Muslim province of Damascus, the first capital of Egypt under Muslim rule. Al-Fustat was called Misr al-Fustat and Fustat Misr, Fustat Egypt, and the term Misr or Marzar, Egypt, became synonymous with Marzar al-Kardamir, the capital city of Old Cairo. As shall we see, the two capital cities of the Latin King of Jerusalem and Latin Palestina, under the Frankish Crusaders, first Jerusalem and later Acre, became associated with Provincia Palestina. As shall we see, the capital city of late Ottoman Palestine, Al-Quds, and its province, Kudus I Serif Mutasafal, their Mutasarifate of Noble. Jerusalem became associated with Palestine as a whole. International and regional trade was always central to the prosperity of Palestine, being a transit country. While geographically Jerusalem of the period was isolated in a mountainous region, the fact that the secular capital of the province of Palestine, Al-Ramla, was strategically and commercially located on the highway leading to the two great capital cities of Islam, Al-Sham, Damascus, and Misr al-Fustat and Fustat Misr, Fustat Egypt, greatly enhanced the prosperity and international reputation of Al-Ramla. Thus Palestine was not only the official name of the province country but, for some medieval Arab historians, the name also became synonymous with the capital city of Al-Ramla. Strategically, geopolitically and in trade terms located at the center of the country and linking the holy city of Jerusalem. With Jaffa, the main Mediterranean port of Junt Palestine, Al-Ramla flourished as the administrative, military, and trading hub of the country for more than 3 centuries. Foster 2016a. In the late 9th century, the province of Palestine was probably at its greatest extent. It was expanded further by the Tulunids, who broke away from the Abbasids and ruled from Egypt as an independent dynasty from 868 until 905. The province of Palestine was enlarged for practical purposes eastwards and southwards, at the expense of Jund Damascus, to include Bilad al-Sharat, the highlands and highly fertile region in modern-day southern Jordan and northwestern Saudi Arabia. Salabai 1993, 1820, Salabai 1993, 1820 Strange 1890, 28. Eiler, present-day Aqaba, was the first major town in Palestine to be taken over by Muslim forces under the leadership of Prophet Muhammad in 630 AD, 9 AH. This is hardly surprising. In his teens, Prophet Muhammad had joined his uncle on Syrian-Palestinian trading caravans and had gained experience in international trade and regional geography. Later in adult life, the Prophet acquired the reputation of being a trustworthy and very successful trader, and he was involved in international trade between the Red Sea and Mediterranean Sea. The Prophet must have also been closely familiar with port cities such as Eiler, present-day Aqaba, and Gaza, which, at the time, linked the international trade networks of Palestina Salutaris and Palestina Prima. Indeed, throughout early Islam, Eiler became the major trading port of Palestine to Asia and China. Ramadan 2010a. The port city of Eiler became a center of economic activity in southern Palestine and also served as a major stopover for Muslim pilgrims en route to Mecca. Ramadan 2010a. 2010b. As for the Bilad al-Sharat region, its principal city is Al-Karak, known today for its Crusader castle, located 140 kilometers to the south of Amman and then a site on the ancient King's Highway. At its greatest extent, Jund Palestine extended from the Mediterranean coast to the region beyond the Dead Sea, to include Bilad al-Sharat, and from Al-Aish in Sinai to Marj ibn Amer and Baysan in the north, with most of Galilee being part of Jund al-Urdun, their military province of Jordan. Its predominantly Muslim towns included Gaza, Nablus, Jaffa, Lidr, Al-Ramla, Caesarea, Amwars, Yubner, Rafah, Sebastia, and Beit Jibrin. The political capital of Palestine, Al-Ramla, became famous throughout the Muslim world for its spectacularly beautiful white mosque, whose minaret is still standing, and for the fertility of the soil of the district, the abundance of its fruit trees and the tasty fruits, while the religious capital of Palestine, Beit al-Maqdis, was renovated not only for its religious significance but also for the beauty of its stone buildings and its exquisite architecture. Al-Maqdisi 2002, 34-35. While under the Byzantine, Caesarea had for centuries been the largest city in Palestina. For 3 centuries under Islam, Al-Ramla became the largest metropolitan city in the country. Al-Ramla was described in the late 10th century by the Jerusalem-born historian and geographer Al-Maqdisi as one of their best cities in the whole Muslim regions. Al-Maqdisi 2002, 35. He had this to say: Al-Ramla is the capital of Palestine, Arabic, Kasbat Palestine. It is a beautiful and well-built city. Its water is light and plentiful. Its fruits are abundant. It encompasses manifold advantages, situated as it is in the midst of virtuous landscape, of pleasant villages and lordly towns and near to holy places. Commerce in it is prosperous and the markers are excellent. There is no finer mosque in Islam than the one in the city. There are no fruits in Islam tastier than in the city and its surrounding towns. Its hostels are pleasant and its hammams, the public baths, are elegant. Its houses are large, its mosques are good. Its streets are wide, its roads lead to Beit al-Maqdis, Jerusalem Road, Lidr Road, Jaffa Road, Egypt Road, Dajan Toad. The chief mosque in the capital, Al-Ramla, located in the markets, is even more beautiful and graceful than that of the Great Mosque of Damascus. It is called Al-Abayad, the White Mosque. In all Islam there is found no bigger mihrab prayer niche than the one here in Al-Ramla, and its pulpit is the most splendid to be seen after that of Beit al-Maqdis. Also it possesses a beautiful minaret built by Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik. Al-Maqdisi 2002, 143-144, also cited in Lestrange 1890, 304-305. Clearly Al-Maqdisi himself was fully aware and indeed proud of his Jerusalemite identity and Palestinian heritage. Interestingly, however, in view of his extensive travels throughout the Muslim world and his multiple occupations, he describes the 36 names and designations by which he was called throughout his journeys, and these included Jerusalemite, Maqdisi, Palestinian, Philistini, Egyptian, Maghribi, Khurasani, Farki, Sufi, tourist, trader, Imam, Iraqi, Baghdadi, Shami, Hanafi, teacher, Sheikh Al-Maqdisi 2002, 41. Al-Maqdisi's account also gives us an insight into the construction of a multilayered Palestinian identity in the 10th century by a highly educated and extensively traveled individual, a construction which in many ways echoes the construction of a regional Palestinian identity by Al-Maqdisi, Muhir al-Din al-Ulaymi, Khair al-Din al-Ramli and Saleh ibn Ahmed al-Tumatashi in the 10th-17th centuries. See below. The identity begins with Al-Maqdisi's native city, Jerusalem, Beit al-Maqdis, a city in the administrative region of Palestine, which is in the greater region of Al-Sham, in the domain of Islam. Al-Maqdisi 2002, 41, 143-144. Jund Palestine as the richest province of Al-Sham region. The changes in the political, religious regime under Islam contrasted with the continuity of Palestina, Palestine as territory, country, and the stability of its economic prosperity and its mainly farming people is striking. For over 3 centuries, the province of Jund Palestine under Islam was a larger and even more prosperous country than the combination of Palestina Prima and Palestina Salutaris under the Byzantines, in contradistinction to various ideological histories presenting this period as one of decline. Throughout early Islam, the administrative province of Palestine maintained its economic prosperity partly by being strategically located at the center of regional and distant trade and partly by developing its own distinct monetary system within the wider monetary zone of Islam. Under Islam, dinar coins were minted in gold, dirham coins in silver, while fals, plural fulus, was a copper coin first produced by the Umayyads in the late 7th century. The name fals derives from phallus, a Roman, Byzantine copper coin. Various Islamic copper fals were in production until the 19th century. Today the word fulus, or flus, is still used in Palestinian Arabic vernacular as a generic term for money, and the term has also given rise to the modern Arabic terms iflas, bankruptcy, and muflis, bankrupt. In the Middle Ages, the monetary system of the province of Palestine included dinars, dirhams, and fals, which were minted in several Palestinian cities. Furthermore, in the 9th century, during Abbasid rule, the province of Jund Palestine was described as the most fertile province in the region of Al-Sham. Commenting on the annual tax revenues raised in the province, 9th century Abbasid postmaster and geographer Ibn Khordadbeh, the author of the earliest surviving Arabic book of administrative and descriptive geography, the Book of Roads and Kingdoms, Kitab al-Masalik, was Mamalik, c. 870, recorded in about 864, 500,000 gold dinars of taxes from Palestine province. By comparison with other provinces of Al-Sham, the Damascus province raised 400,000 dinars, the Hims province 340,000, the Jordan province 350,000, and the 2 provinces of Chinisrin and Awasim 400,000 dinars. Lestrange 1890, 46, Roricht 1890, 17, Ibn Khordadbeh. Lestrange 1890, 46, Roricht 1890, 17, 1865. For another comparison, the tax revenues raised in the whole of Palestine, the 2 provinces of Palestine and Urdun, in 864, 850,000 dinars, amounted to more than half of Maniland. Taxes raised in the whole of Abbasid Mesopotamia in 818, 819, Christensen 1993, 42. These annual revenues of the province of Palestine is also evident from the tax figures and revenues collected during this era from the Palestine province, both in absolute terms and in comparison with those taxes collected from the other Ajnad, including the much smaller Jund al-Urdun and the much larger Jund Damascus, the Damascus province, which included much of present-day Lebanon and territories east of the River Jordan known as Al-Balka region. Lestrange 2010, 43-48, Blankenship 1994, 47-48, 292, Note 7. Indeed, Palestine is accounted by tax figures given in certain sources, to have been the richest province of Al-Sham throughout the late Umayyad period. Blankenship 1994-48. The works of Arab historians and geographers of the Middle Ages are central to our understanding of the evolving reconfiguration of Palestine and its environs and of the relatively immense wealth and prosperity of the province of Palestine throughout much of the Umayyad and Abbasid periods. Local Palestinian historians and geographers such al-Maqdisi, who uses not just the term Palestine repeatedly but also Palestinian, also began to develop an embryonic sense of regional Palestinian identity. In 985 AD, al-Maqdisi, in his work The Best Divisions for Knowledge of the Regions, Asan al-Tarkasim fi Marifat al-Akarlim, gives us a detailed account of all the place names, cities and towns he had visited in Palestine. Al-Maqdisi 1994, 2002. Describing in detail his native country and the fertility of its land, al-Maqdisi comments in the 10th century on the agricultural produce and manufactured goods of Palestine. Within the province of Palestine may be found gathered together 36 products that are not found thus united in any other land. From Palestine come olives, dried figs, raisins, the carob fruit, stuffs of mixed silk and cotton, soap and kerchiefs. From Jerusalem come cheeses, cotton, the celebrated raisin of the species known as Aimuni and Juri, excellent apples, bananas, which same is a fruit in the form of a cucumber, but when the skin is peeled off, the interior is not unlike the watermelon, only finer flavored and more luscious. Also pine nuts known as a curaish bite, and their equal is not found elsewhere. Further mirrors, lamp jars and needles. From Jericho is brought excellent indigo. From Sugar and Bison came indigo and dates and rice, also the treacle called dibs. From Amman grain, lambs and honey. From Tiberias carpet stuffs, paper and cloth. From Carter's clothes of the stuff called Munei and Balasir, also ropes. Cited in Lestrange 2014, 1819, also Lestrange 1890, 1619, al-Maqdisi 1994-7. The economy of Palestine was boosted by the country's strategic location and its international trade, including its long-distance trade with India, China and Europe. An extensive long-distance silk trade from China to the Near East existed from antiquity. Silk fabric, a natural fiber produced by silkworms, was first developed in ancient China and, because of its texture and luster, silk rapidly became a popular luxury fabric in the Near East. It was made accessible by both Chinese and Arab traders in antiquity. Under Islam, Palestine and Al-Sham as a whole traded with India and China via Aylar, Aqaba, on the Red Sea, a port of Palestine on China Sea. Ramadan 2010a, 2010b. In the Middle Ages, Arab merchants began importing Asian silkworms, Arabic, Dudart Okaz, and in Palestine the silk, harir, fabric was woven into textiles and helped develop the country's own silk industry. Palestine produced a variety of silk fabrics including one coarse type of silk fabric mixed with various types of wool and woven into coats, which became known as Kaz silk, and a biarir, which were exported to Arabia and various Mediterranean and European countries. Gull, M. 1997, 238. Goetin 1983, 403, Note 141, Lewandowski 2011, 243, Weirgoetin 1983, 403 Lewandowski 2011, 243 1994, 288. In early modern England, the raw type of silk made in Palestine and known as Kaz became known as gauze or garzer, the name of the Palestinian city. It was a thin, often transparent woven fabric used in clothing, drapery, and surgical dressings. Cannon and K 1994, 196. Palestine's foreign export and international trade were key contributors to the country's economic prosperity and wealth under Islam. Palestine had begun exporting olive oil and wine to Egypt in the Chalcolithic age, and the export of Palestinian olive oil and liqueurs Palestinian wine remained important commodities in antiquity. Although the export of liqueurs Palestini declined under Islam, exports continued throughout the Middle Ages, and camel caravans transported olive oil from Palestine to the city of Medina in Arabia. Gill, M. 1997, 236. Also, various woven items and textiles and types of cow's silk mixed with rabbit wool made in Palestine were loaded onto ships and exported to Mediterranean markets, including Egypt. Gull, M. 1997. 238. Interestingly, many of these key manufactured and exported products, such as cotton, wool, soap, glassware, woven, embroidered and silk items, would still play a role in the Palestinian economy of the modern era. Also under Islam, the religiously autonomous, predominantly urban Arab Jews of Palestine played an important part in the culture, commerce, and manufacturing industries of the country. This was particularly evident in an important international export of Palestine, glassware. Glassmaking in the region dates back to Phoenician times, and the mosaics of Hellenic and Roman buildings and Byzantine mosaic floors. In the Middle Ages, Acre, Tyre, Okolal, Hebron, and other localities in Palestine became famous for glassmaking, and the Arab Jews of the country and Ulsham as a whole became known as experts at making glass, which would be exported to various countries including some in Europe. Gull, M. 1997. 238. As we shall see in Chapter 7, the industry of exquisite glass making was further developed by Muslim industrialists in Okolal during the Mamluk period. In one of the most famous encyclopedic geopolitical and geoethnographic works of the 10th century, Al-Makdisi describes some of the Mediterranean ports of the province of Jund Falastin. All along the seacoast of Falastin are the watch stations, called Ribert, where the levies assemble. The warships and galleys of the Greeks also come into these ports, bringing aboard of them the captives taken from the Muslims. These they offer for ransom, 3 for the 100 dinars. And in each of these ports there are men who know the Greek tongue, for they have missions to the Greeks, and trade with them in divers wares. At the stations, whenever a Greek vessel appears, they sound the horns. Also, if it be night, they light a beacon there on the tower, or, if it be day, they make a great smoke. From every watch station on the coast up to the capital, or Ramler, there are built, at intervals, high towers, in each of which is stationed a company of men. On the occasion of the arrival of the Greek ships, the men, perceiving this, kindle the beacon on the tower nearest to the coast station, and then on that lying next above it, and onwards, one after another, so that hardly is an hour is elapsed before the trumpets are sounding in the capital, and drums are beating in the towers, calling the people down to the watch stations by the sea. And they hurry out in force, with their arms, and the young men of the village gather together. Then the ransoming begins. Some will be able to ransom a prisoner, while others, less rich, will throw down silver dirhams, or signet rings, or contribute some other valuable, until at length all the prisoners who are in the Greek ships have been ransomed. Now the watch stations of this province of Falastin, where this ransoming of captives takes place, are these: Gazar, Memers, Ascalon, Mahus the port of Asdod, Mahus the port of Yubner, Yarfar, and Asaf, cited in Lestrange 2014, 23-24. Also in the 10th century, Arab geographer and chronicler Ibn Hakal, who travelled extensively in Asia, Europe and Africa in 943-969 AD and wrote The Face of the Earth, describes the Arab province of Falastin. Ibn Hakal, who may well derive some of his information from earlier Arabic sources, describes the extent of the province of Falastin, from Rafah in the south to the region of Olajun in the north, and from the Mediterranean Sea in the west to Amman in Transjordan. Al-Makdisi 2002, 138. Located 16 kilometers northwest of Jenin and 1 kilometer south of Tel Megiddo, also called Tel al-Mutasalim. For many centuries Olajun was an important strategic Palestinian district town, until the turn of the 19th century, when it was annexed by the Ottomans to the new district of Jenin. Depopulated and destroyed by Israel in 1948, Olajun was identified with ancient Megiddo, which was one of the strongest and most important Palestinian city-states throughout the Bronze Age and housed one of their most monumental temples of its time in the whole Near East. Wiener, N. 2016. Under the Romans, this region was treated as part of the Galilee, and in the 18th century Olajun became part of the practically independent Galilee-based Palestinian state ruled by Dar al-Umma. The continuities between the ancient and medieval Arab heritage of Olajun is symbolically present in the name of the medieval Palestinian Arab town Lajun, which is derived from the Roman name Legio, meaning an early Roman legion camp in the province of Syria-Palestinia. The site, a strategic point on Palestine's Via Maris and known to Romans as Capricotner, remained the base of the Legio Sextor Ferrator, 6th Ironclad Legion, the 6th Roman Legion, between 120 and 300 AD. The 6th Ironclad Legion was honored by the Roman Arab Emperor, Philippus Arabs, 244–249, who took a close interest in the affairs of the provinces of Syria-Palestina and Arabia and minted coins with the number of this legion. 8 Under the Abbasids in the 8th–9th centuries, Olajun was an important district town within the province of Junt-Falastin. Throughout the long Mamluk period, 1260–1517, it served as an important station in the commercial and postal route, and during the early Ottoman period it was the capital of the district, Sanjak, in Palestine that bore its name. According to some Arabic sources, the two major towns of Baisan, former Sitharpolis, and Olajun, were included in the province of Junt-Falastin throughout early Islam. Siegel, M. 1997, 111, Yetel Maktasai, 2002, 138, reports that Baisan, Olajun, as well as Acre were part of Jund-ul-Urdun, something which lends further weight to the argument that, geographically and strategically, Jund-ul-Urdun remained for several centuries equivalent to the former Byzantine province of Palestina Secundar. In the 10th century, Ibn Hakel describes the administrative capital of the province of Junt-Falastin, Ul-Ramler, as the largest town in the country, but the holy city of Jerusalem comes very near this last in size, something which also lends some weight to the two political, religious capitals notion existing in Palestine for 3 centuries under the Byzantines and for nearly 4 centuries under Islam from the early 8th century until 1099. Ibn Hakel writes, Junt-Falastin, Palestine, and its sub-districts. Subordinate to this district were those of the Tai in North Sinai and Al-Jafar, both lying towards the Egyptian frontier. Falastin is the westernmost of the provinces of Ul-Sham. In its greatest length from Rafah to the boundary of Ul-Lajun, Legio, it would take a rider 2 days to travel over, and the like time to cross the breadth from Jafar to Rihar, Jericho. Falastin is watered by the rains and dew. Its trees and its ploughed lands do not need artificial irrigation, and it is only in Nablus that you find the running waters applied to this purpose. Falastin is the most fertile of the Syrian provinces. Its capital and the largest town is Ar-Ramler, but the holy city of Jerusalem comes very near this last in size. In the province of Falastin, despite its small extent, there are about 20 mosques, with pulpits for the Friday prayer. Cited in Lestrange 2014, 28, also Roericht 1890, 18, Gull, M. 1997, 111. Although the perception of the boundaries of the province of Falastin did change over the years, in 1226 the Arab geographer Yaqut ul-Hamawi, writing during the Ayyubid period, mentioned that the Arab town of Ul-Fulay, present-day Israeli town of Afular, which was at the heart of Marj ibn Amer, about 12 kilometers to the north of Ul-Lajun, as being a town in Junt-Falastin. Lestrange 1890, 441. Coins minted, in Falastin, Palestine currency, monetary autonomy and numismatic evidence from Arab Islamic Palestine. Numismatic and monetary evidence are important sources of knowledge on the economy and degree of political autonomy of Roman, Byzantine and medieval Islamic Palestine. Numismatic evidence of Arab Byzantine coinage of the province of Junt-Falastin, the military, administrative province of Palestine in early Islam, in the 7th century. Goodwin 2004 shows the continuities of Palestine, the variety of styles and traditions evolving in the country, as well as some of the distinct traditions evolving within Palestine. One of the key indicators of economic prosperity and greater regional and economic autonomy under empire was the ability of a particular region or city to issue its own currency. As we have already seen, the earliest phase of the momentary phenomenon in Palestine began in the late 6th and early 5th century BC and took place in Philistia. This phase continued into the 4th century up to the end of the Achaemenid, Persian, rule over over Palestine. Throughout much of this period, the economically autonomous Palestinian cities of Gaza, Ascalon, and Ashdod were able to issue their own silver coins. The monetary phenomenon of silver coinage became widely known as the coinage of Philistia or Philisto-Arabian coins. However, in the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire granted many cities in Palestine the right to mint only bronze and copper coins. Minting prestigious silver coins was confined to a few important cities outside of Rome. Bronze coins were issued by many Palestinian cities, including Gaza, Caesarea, Joppa, Jaffa, Ascalon, Ptolemy, Acre, Tiberias, Sepphoris, Neapolis, Nablus, Antipatris, Diospolis, Lydda, Nicopolis, Emmors, Elir Capitoline, Jerusalem, and Eleutheropolis, Thebe Gibron, Antoninus Pius, Titus Fulvus Aelius Hadrianus Antoninus Augustus Pius, 86 to 161 AD, also known as Antoninus, was Roman emperor from 138 to 161 AD. His name appears on imperial bronze coins struck in Gaza, Philistia. This tradition of bronze coinage struck in several Palestinian cities persisted into the Byzantine era. Islam in Palestine pragmatically adapted and combined the Roman, Byzantine monetary tradition of coinage with the Achaemenid silver coinage in Palestine and encouraged the minting of both silver and gold coins in Palestinian cities. Furthermore, the continuation of this Arab-Byzantine tradition and the continuity of economic growth and prosperous trade in Palestine under Islam is evident in the widespread presence of precious metals and minting of gold coinage in Islamic Palestine. Rare and naturally occurring elements of high economic value and investment, historically precious metals were important in fine jewelry and coinage as currency. The best known precious metals were the Arab Islamic coinage, and initially coins were minted in Palestine in copper, and later gold and silver coins were widely minted in several Palestinian cities. The key elements of the Islamic coin struck in Palestine: materials, words, designs, signs, and symbols evolved significantly from the initial Byzantine-style coinage used in early Islam to the post-reform currency introduced by Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan around 696 AD into the coins used during the Abbasid, Julunid, Ikhshidid, and Fatimid periods from the 8th to the 11th centuries. Shamr 1969-1980. After the Umayyads took over the Muslim Caliphate and made Damascus their capital in 661 AD, the economic and financial stability of their vast Islamic empire was one of their top priorities. Consequently, the Byzantine-style solidus, originally a Roman weight unit of a relatively pure gold, influenced the Umayyad gold dinar. The Arabic name of the gold coin derives from denarius, a Roman coin. The Arab gold dinar was first issued by the reforming Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan around 696 AD, with his own cities. The key elements of the Islamic coin struck in Palestine: materials, words, designs, signs, and symbols evolved significantly from the initial Byzantine-style coinage used in early Islam to the post-reform currency introduced by Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan around 696 AD into the coins used during the Abbasid, Julunid, Ikhshidid, and Fatimid periods from the 8th to the 11th centuries. Shamr 1969-1980. After the Umayyads took over the Muslim Caliphate and made Damascus their capital in 661 AD, the economic and financial stability of their vast Islamic empire was one of their top priorities. Consequently, the Byzantine-style solidus, originally a Roman weight unit of a relatively pure gold, influenced the Umayyad gold dinar. The Arabic name of the gold coin derives from denarius, a Roman coin. The Arab gold dinar was first issued by the reforming Caliph Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan around 696 AD. With his own image replacing that of the Byzantine emperor. However, subsequently the image of the caliph was removed from the Islamic currency. Greek was the official language of the Byzantine Empire, and under the influence of Byzantine-style coinage, the fineness of the gold Arab dinar was measured in karat, which derives from the Greek. The carat as a gold unit of weight still stands today. The Islamic-style currency reform introduced by this fifth Umayyad ruler was designed to reinforce Umayyad power and provide a standardized Arab Islamic coinage that reflected the new politico-cultural reality of the time. Ramadan 2010b. Using the oldest calligraphic form of the Arabic script, the Kufi script, in addition to "There is no God but God," and later "Muhammad is the messenger of God," gold, silver and copper coins struck in Palestine added the Arabic name Falastin. The economic and monetary prosperity of Palestine in early Islam and the centrality of the coins minted locally in the province of Jund Falastin, especially in the administrative capital Al-Ramla, in the first half of the 8th century, is evident from the origins of the two hoards of post-reform Islamic coins excavated at Jericho. Currency is about monetary power, and the currency minted locally in Palestine gives us a sense of the extent of the local autonomy exercised in the province of Palestine under Islam. Not surprisingly, in view of the location of Jericho and the centrality of the province of Palestine in the Umayyad period, the provinces of Jund Falastin and Jund Dimashq provided an almost equal number of coins excavated from the Jericho site, Walmsley 2338, originating from a range of mints in Bilad al-Sham. The percentage of these coins were as follows: 32% minted in the province of Jund Falastin, 35% from the province of Jund Dimashq, 20% minted in Jund Hims, 6% from Jund al-Urdun, 5% from Al-Jazeera, 1% from Jund Shinisrin, 1% from Egypt, Walmsley 2336-337. These coins were from the following mints: 27 Jund Falastin, 23 from the mint of the capital Al-Ramla, 3 Lidr, 1 Ilyar in Jerusalem, 29 Jund Dimashq, all from the mint of the capital Dimashq, 5 Jund al-Urdun, 4 Tiberias, 1 al-Urdun, 17 Jund Hins, all from Hins mint, 1 Jund Shinisrin, Aleppo mint, 4 Al-Jazeera, Al-Ruha mint, 1 Egypt, Alexandria mint, Walmsley 2338. Under Islam, especially from the early 8th century onwards, Palestine also began to develop its own distinct Arab Islamic traditions of weights, measures and coinage. Crucially, coins were produced in several Palestinian cities with the mint formula struck in Falastin, Gil, M. 1997, 257-9 and circulated locally, regionally and internationally. The earliest numismatic evidence for the official designation of the country as Palestina on Roman coins comes from the period of Vespasian, 69 to 79 AD, and subsequently for the name Syria-Palestina from the period of Marcus Aurelius, who was Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. In the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire also granted many Palestinian cities the right to mint bronze coins. Sir George Francis Hill, the director and principal librarian of the British Museum, 1931 to 1936, produced the British Museum catalogue of Palestine coins showing 16 Palestinian cities minting their own coins, Hill 1914. This tradition of economic autonomy and Palestine city coins came to an end in the 3rd century AD when the Western Roman Empire disintegrated, but it was renewed and expanded in Muslim-ruled Palestine in the Middle Ages to include the minting of coins in silver and gold in the Palestine cities of Ilyar 10, Beit al-Maqdis, Al-Quds, Jerusalem, Al-Ramla, Tabarir, Tiberias, Ascalon and others. This autonomous bronze coinage of Palestine cities under the Romans and Byzantines and silver and gold under Islam suggests the development of a considerable degree of regional Palestinian autonomy and of distinct local traditions, away from rigid imperial control. The finds of coins indicate that there was an intensive production of coins in Palestine in the following places: Jerusalem, Beth Guvrin, Beit Jibrin, Ramla, Ascalon, Amman, Gaza, Lod Lidr, Yavni Yubna, Tiberias, Bet-Shin Beisan, Sypharis Sapharia, and Tyre. Some of these mints were already in existence during the Byzantine era, and it appears that they were again in use during the days of the Damascene caliphs after Abd al-Malik. The inscriptions on the coins were Ili Falastin, Al-Quds Falastin, Ascalon Falastin, and the like. From the mint of Bet-Shin Beisan, coins were found with Greek inscriptions, but appear to have been gradually replaced by Arabic. Among those coins from Bet-Shin there were some with the Greek inscription Skytharpeles, together with the Arabic Basin or Beisan Gil, M. 1997, 110. The history of Islamic Palestine is often read through overall caliphate chronologies with little consideration for local developments and regional conditions. Under Islam, Palestine developed a substantial measure of economic and commercial autonomy. It produced its own coinage and developed its own distinct commercial traditions of weights and measures. Its coins were minted in several Palestinian cities with the inscription, "In Palestine, in the same way as the country of manufacture or production is stated on goods today. Al-Makdisi devotes an entire section of his work to these distinct traditions, measures and coins of his native country. Gul, M. 1997. 257. The minting of Islamic coins, dinar in gold and dirham in silver, in Palestine began under the Umayyads. It was initially halted by the Abbasids but was restarted in Ul-Ramla under the Tulunids, which was the first independent Muslim dynasty to rule Egypt, Palestine, and much of Syria from 868 until 905 AD. 3 decades later, the Ikhshidid dynasty ruled Egypt and Palestine from 935 to 969 AD. In the 9th century, Palestinian coins began to appear with the inscription by Palestine in Palestine. The first of these were produced in the days of Kumaraway and his son, Harun, from 890 until 904. And these were gold dinars with the unusual weight of 3.2 grams. These practices continued during the period when the Abbasids reconquered Egypt and Palestine. The Ikhshidids continued to mint coins in Ramla, as previously, but unlike the inferior quality of the Palestinian coins produced under the Tulunids, Muhammad ibn Tuj, the Ikhshid, ordered the minting of dinars of a finer quality. The mint in Ramla continued working during Fatimid times as well. The mint in Tiberias was also active. After the conquest of most of Palestine by the Crusaders, the mint in Ascalon was activated. Gul, M. 1997. 258. See also Album 1998. 11. Reconfiguration of Palestine under the Fatimids, the province of Jund Palestine, and the military governor of Palestine, 11th century. The Egypt-based Shiite Fatimid state invaded Palestine in 970, conquering the whole of country in 972. The Fatimid rule of Palestine was marred by great turmoil and upheavals. During this period, Ul-Ramla was still the official capital of the province of Jund Palestine, but the city suffered badly from its occupation and pillaging by the Bedouins of Banu Tay in Palestine in late 1024, as well as the 2 devastating earthquakes in 1025 and 1068. Although the city would recover in the middle of the 11th century and would remain an important strategic and garrison town for many centuries to come, its decline during the Fatimid rule and its subsequent replacement by Al-Quds as the administrative capital of Palestine under the Ayyubids would inaugurate a new era in the strategic recentering of Palestine in the post-Crusader era. Political and military strategic considerations played an important part in shaping the Fatimid regime in Palestine. A combination of political and military strategic calculations were also factors in the reconfiguration of their perception and boundaries of historic Palestine before, during and after the Fatimid rule. These considerations, which were present in radically different historical periods, were evident. The creation of the new province of Syria-Palestina by Hadrian in 135 AD following the defeat of the Bar Kokhba rebellion of that year. The fact that the Byzantine Dux Palestini, their military commander of all of Palestine, commanded all Byzantine forces in Provincia Palestina, Palestina Prima, Palestina Secunda and Palestina Tertia, from the 4th to the early 7th centuries. The creation of the military administrative ajnads in Al-Sham, Jund Palestine included, under Islam from the 630s onwards. The secret Ottoman strategic military plan of Palestine Risalisi, prepared for the officers of the 8th Army Corps in Palestine at the beginning of the First World War, to be discussed in Chapter 9. For the combined defense of the 3 Ottoman Sanjaks of Palestine. The secret Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916 between Britain and France, which was designed to carve up the Near East between the 2 imperial powers, an agreement which would contribute to the shaping of the British mandatory boundaries of Palestine. Following the deteriorating military security situation in Palestine and tribal uprisings in the 1020s, strategic military considerations by the Fatimid state seem to have contributed to the creation by the Fatimids of a new title, Mutawali Harb Palestine, their military governor of Palestine. The extent to which the responsibilities of Mutawali Harb Palestine were separate from those of the traditional civil governor, Wali, of the province of Jund Palestine is not entirely clear. Lev 2003. 46-47. But, with echoes of the responsibilities of the Byzantine Dux Palestini, the military governor of Palestine commanded all the Fatimid military forces in the two provinces of Jund-Falastin and Jund-ul-Ardun. Interestingly, a form of this military strategic innovation, in the shape of the military governor of Palestine, with military responsibilities, did survive the end of the Fatimid rule in Palestine. The titles of Mutawali, military, and Wali, civil, are often conflated during the Ayyubid period, and in 1193 the title of Mutawali ul-Harb by Beit ul-Muqaddars, the military governor of Jerusalem, is found in Ayyubid Palestine, Humphreys 1977, 78-79. In any event, however, the conception of the military governor of Palestine by the Fatimids and the rise of a Palestinian, Muhammad al-Yuzuri, to become Wazir, chief minister, of the Fatimid state in 1050-1058, together with the evidence we have from the Arab Jewish Al-Fustad Janizar, all give rise to the impression that Palestine was perceived to be a key province of the Fatimid state. Under the Egypt-based Shiite Fatimids in the early 11th century, Islam in Palestine remained largely Sunni, and senior Fatimid officials of the province of Jund-Falastin resided in the capital city of Al-Ramla. Several Fatimid officials resided in Ramla during the Fatimid period, early 11th century, including the governor, who is referred to as Wali, meaning apparently the governor of Jund-Falastin. The governor, through his military slave soldier Ghulam, controlled the police force and kept contact with Cairo Fustad through the postal service, or the Barid. The town was also the seat of the secret police, Ashab ul-Akbar, and the local Fatimid Shiite propagandist, Dai. Two other officials whose presence is attested to in the town were the fiscal administrator, Amil, and auditor, Zinamam, both of which were nominated by the government in Cairo. The social composition of the population in Ramla remains enigmatic, but there was a local Muslim elite made up of notables, judges and court witness. In Muharram for 14 March-April 1023, Anushtrakin Oldusbari, an elite Turkish slave soldier in Fatimid employ and a former governor of Baalbek and Caesarea, was appointed as the governor of Jund-Falastin, bearing the title of a military governor. Mutawali Harb Falastin. The beginnings of his governorship were peaceful, and, in April 1024, a large caravan of Khurasani Sunni pilgrims from Mecca traveled through Ailer, the present-day Aqaba, via Ramla and Damascus to Baghdad. Lev 2006, 591. However, the security situation in the two provinces of Jund-Falastin and Jund-ul-Ardun deteriorated quickly, and, in September 1024, tribal rebellion erupted over the terms of the tax collection Iqtiray system, which had been granted to the Bedouin leader of Banu Tay, Hassan ibn al-Jarrah, over the Beit Jibrin region in the province of Falastin. In the north of Palestine, the Bedouins attacked and looted Tiberias, the capital of Jund-ul-Ardun. They also occupied Al-Ramla, looting property, executing the soldiers of the local garrison and enslaving women and children. After plundering the city and destroying its soap and olive industry, Hassan ibn al-Jarrah set fire to the capital of Palestine. The Bedouin conquest of Ramla was a bleak chapter in the history of the town. Lev 2006, 591. The tribal uprisings in the two provinces lingered sporadically for 5 years until 1029 and caused hardship and famine. Although resentment of the Shiite Fatimid rule in Palestine was not universal or even evident among the Sunni ulama of Jerusalem, this resentment was very strong among the Bedouins of Banu Tay and the Christian communities, the former for economic reasons and the latter for religious ones. In the early 11th century, the Fatimid rule in the country was marred by a series of tribal rebellions, widespread insecurity and famine which, in addition to the severe earthquake of 1025, devastated Palestine. Gul 1996, 22, 25-27. The destruction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and the splendid Church of St. George at Lidr by the Fatimid Caliph ul-Hakim by Amr al-Alar in 1009 was part of general campaign against Christian places of worship in Palestine and Egypt. Fatimid policies adversely affected the province of Falastin, and these policies became an impetus not only to local rebellions but also to the invasion of Palestine by the Seljuks in 1073 and the Latin Crusaders in 1099. In 1029, 5 years after the Bedouin occupation of Al-Ramla and 4 years after the 1025 earthquake, which badly damaged the city, and at the height of the Fatimid regime in Palestine, the severely affected province of Falastin was referred to in the Old Cairo Janizar, a collection of Arab Jewish fragments of manuscripts that were found in the storeroom, Genizer, of the Ben Ezra Synagogue in Ul-Fustert, then the capital of Egypt. Written in various languages, especially Arabic, Hebrew and Aramaic, the massive collection, which began during the Abbasid period in 870 AD and covers a millennium, became the largest and most diverse collection of medieval manuscripts in the world and a testimony to the flourishing culture of Arab Jews under Islam. Ul-Fustert was also the home of Ibn Maimonides, 1135–1204, the great Andalusian-born Arab Jewish philosopher, rabbi and head of the Arab Jewish community in Egypt. In 1029, the Jerusalem-based Rabbi Solomon Harcohen ben Yehoseph, in a letter to his son Abraham in Fustert, refers to the damage inflicted by the Fatimids on both the city of Ul-Ramler and their land of Palestine. Rabbi Solomon refers to the infliction of famine, for no food is to be found in the land of Philistines, i.e. the province of Palestine, and there are many poor. Gil. 1996, 28-29. In 1029, the military commander of all the Fatimid forces in Palestine, Mutawalli Harb Falastin, and Nushtakin Oldisbari, brought an army from Egypt, collected local forces in Palestine, and decisively defeated the combined Bedouin army at Ulukuwana near the Sea of Galilee. Granger 2016, 246, an area which was part of the province of Jund-ul-Urdun. After these military successes, General Oldisbari was the most powerful Fatimid governor of the whole region of Ul-Sham, Palestine included. He became fairly popular among the local population by forming alliances with their local notables, and he managed to unite the whole region under a single Fatimid authority. Medieval Muslim historians have stressed Oldisbari's just rule and fair treatment of the population in the towns he ruled as governor. Lev 2003, 55. For the first and last time, all of Palestine and Ul-Sham was ruled by a single Fatimid governor. He died in Aleppo in 1042. 15 years later, his grave was relocated to Jerusalem. Although little is known about the political developments in Palestine in the second part of the 11th century, and prior to the Crusader invasion of 1099, letters from the Ul-Fustert Genizer show that Muhammad Hassan ibn Ali al-Yaziri, from Yazir, 12 east of Jaffa in the province of Palestine, and a former governor of Ul-Ramler, served in the capacity of vizier of the Fatimid state, the second most important position after the Fatimid Caliph in Egypt, from 1050 to 1058. He was also personally involved in the affairs of the Al-Quds, Jerusalem, the religious capital of Muslim Palestine. Gil. 1996, 30.13. In the middle of the 11th century, Muslim traveler Nasir Khusrau, who visited Fatimid Palestine in 1047, produced an account of his 7-year journey, Safarnameh, through the Muslim world of the 11th century, Diary of a Journey Through Syria and Palestine. He wrote, "Sunday, the day of the new moon of the month of Ramadan, the 1st of March, we came to Ramler. From Caesarea to Ramler is 8 leagues. Ramler is a great city, with strong walls built of stone, mortared, of great height and thickness, with iron gates opening therein. From the town to the seacoast is a distance of 3 leagues. The inhabitants get their water from the rainfall, and in each house is a tank for storing the same, in order that there may always be a supply. In the middle of the Friday Mosque, also, is a large tank, and from it, when it is filled with water, anyone who wishes may take. The area of the mosque measures 200 paces, gam, by 300. Over one of its porches, Suffer, is an inscription stating that on the 15th of Muharram, of the year 425, 10th of December, 1033 AD, there came an earthquake of great violence, which threw down a large number of buildings, but that no single person sustained an injury. In the city of Ramla there is marble in plenty, and most of the buildings and private houses are of this material, and, further, they do most beautifully sculpture and ornament. They cut the marble here with a toothless saw, which is worked with a mecher sand. They saw the marble in the length, as is the case with wood, to form the columns, not in the cross. Also they cut it into slabs. The marbles that I saw here were of all colors, some variegated, some green, red, black, and white. There is, too, at Ramler, a particular kind of fig, than which no better exists anywhere, and this they export to all the countries round. This city of Ramler, throughout Ul-Sham and the west Ul-Maghreb, is known under the name of Palestine. Khusrau 1888, 2122, in the post-Fatimid period, The first, Crusader, Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem was created in 1099 and lasted until 1187 and occupied much of Palestine. Yet the conception of Junt Falastin as an administrative province, as mentioned by the Muslim historian Ibn Shaddad, 1145 to 1234 AD, a biographer of Salah-ud-Din, Saladin, and an eyewitness of the Muslim Third Crusade battles, survived until the Mongol invasion of Palestine in the mid-13th century. Its territory also seems to have been expanded from the 10th century onwards both towards the east in Transjordan and in the southeast. The Encyclopedia of Islam 1965, Volume 2, 911. Also Ibn Shaddad, their Encyclopedia of Islam 1965 2002.